Ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 o'clock on my watch, and at this time, I would ask that we call the MSBU Advisory Committee meeting to order. If you would all, let's please stand for the invocation and the pledge, please. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day, the opportunity to come together as a community and make decisions about our community, and we ask you to guide us and give us strength and wisdom as we make decisions that are good and best for everyone that would be affected, Lord, as we come together and talk about Sunny Hills and in our area in Washington County. Lord, we give Jesus the praise and glory. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we will adopt the agenda, but there are some items that we need to call in the name of just a bullet point that we'd like to add to the agenda for brief and quick discussion. I'll go ahead and list off the things that I would like to add, and I'll have them written up here in bullet point form so we can just touch on them real quick. That's the goal, but I do want to keep them as part of our items that we discussed. They are as follows: boulevard lighting, the lighted information signs. Here, I'll slow down if you need me to, sir. Okay. Boulevard lighting, the lighted information signs that we talked about, also the fountain and the status of that, committee member attendance, code enforcement discussion, bulk pickup, and Chad Gainey sculpture and sculpting. That's something that Kathy just brought to my attention. Are there anything else from my fellow committee members that you'd like to add to the agenda for discussion in the form of a bullet point by title only at this point?
Well, I had said move the agenda item for AD.
Okay, let's add.
It's on there already.
Okay, it's on there. Anything additional to what's not on there? That's correct. Thank you for clarifying that, Steve. Okay, with that said, and with those additions, do I hear a motion that we accept the agenda as is printed and with the additional items?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second that.
It has been, we've had the motion, it has been seconded that we adopt the agenda as it's written and also the additional items on here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. The agenda has been adopted. Okay, one thing that we have done previously in our meetings, and we were talking just briefly right before the meeting, is that generally workshops are reserved for concerned citizens to come forward and speak, and I think that some of my committee members, and I certainly agree, that sometimes that is what could potentially bog us down in our meetings, not the workshops, but the meetings. And so we would like to continue to offer that opportunity tonight, but we will look at whether or not that will be something that we'll continue to offer as a committee in our future meetings, certainly with guidance from our county commissioners and anyone else that would advise. But it's been brought to my attention that the workshops are the place for that. So with that said, since we're stating this tonight as a possibility, we want to go ahead and continue to allow anybody that may be in the audience this evening to speak. And again, I won't go through all of this, but I would ask that we limit it to 3 minutes and that it be very positive in nature and have to do with the subject at hand, that is Sunny Hill. So with that said, Jackie just left me. I need to know if there are is there anyone present here tonight that would like to speak that's not already on the agenda, that would like to come forward? Jackie, anybody?
No, there's no one signed there.
Okay, perfect. That worked out great then. Well, okay, so with that said, that's what we'll move on. So at this point, we'll move on to our agenda items, if my fellow committee members agree that that's the next step for us. And I believe we have some particular guests here this evening, and including Randy Truitt, EMS Director, Emergency Services. Mr. Truitt, are you available, sir?
Yes. Good evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I was informed that y'all wanted me to come before you and possibly speak on, I guess there's some concerns about EMS coverage in Sunny Hills. So I'm here to answer whatever questions I can answer. If I don't have the answer, I will get back to you.
Okay. Well, I'll defer to my fellow committee members at this time to start the discussion with Mr. Truitt, if you will.
Okay, how we start on this, of course, we're all concerned. We had a concerned citizen who actually had a death in the family due to the heart attack in the response time from any services. It was like 20 minutes or more, as she said, so.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And it's just, it's something that we all think about, and we discussed AEDs and everything else, and we got more discussion on that coming. But we were just floating the idea to see what the possibility is of getting an ambulance service somewhere down toward that area. Because they're all up in Chipley, as I understand it.
Chipley and Vernon. I got one station in Chipley and one in Vernon. It's been that way since 1986. We've asked for ambulances repeatedly. We're not meeting the state's goal. It's not anything set in stone, it's just a goal. 1986, they were running 400 calls a year with 2 ambulances. 2017, we're running 3,400 calls a year with 2 ambulances. Population of Washington County has increased. Demand on our service has increased. I'm not trying to make excuses of why.
We understand that.
I'm just trying to give you all some information.
That helps us, yes, sir.
We average about 7 transfers from our local facility, our local hospital, to out-of-town hospitals, Dothan, Panama City, which I completely understand. I mean, most of y'all, if you were picked up and went to the local facility, you probably got doctors somewhere else, and you're going to want to go somewhere else. We try to accommodate that, which takes us out of our Vernon station for 2 hours, 2.5 hours at the minimum. Same thing for our Chipley station. And we've asked for ambulances. The Board of County Commissioners have always understood and realized that we need ambulances. But, with the budget, I don't know that there's a way. I know I'm stretching what I get as far as I can get it. I know that the Board of County Commissioners that we have right now, the first responders are a high priority with them. And I feel in my heart that when they have the money, they're going to tell me, Randy, we got some extra money that it's going to be extra money next year and the following year. It's going to be recurring money, and it's time for you to start looking where you want to put an ambulance. And I've already been looking. That's my job, is to be looking into the future. So I've been looking, but I have to continue looking because those numbers kind of change a little bit here and there as people move into the county. But yeah, we look at it. I've got the numbers, what it costs.
I was gonna say, what is the cost of an ambulance?
The cost to run an ambulance for 1 year is $450,000 on a good year. If you have a lot of breakdowns, it can go up.
That's the personnel in the ambulance itself?
No, sir. That's just what it takes to actually run that ambulance. That's not purchasing the equipment or anything. To buy an ambulance, you're looking at about $150,000 to $160,000 on the low end. To outfit that ambulance, you can add about another $50,000 or $75,000. So you're looking at well over $200,000. Then you have to have a station, a place for them to be housed for 24 hours. So, there's a lot of expense to it.
Mr. Truitt, thank you for that information.
Yes.
It sounds like just that based on from a geographical perspective, that with Chipley and Vernon, that your next spot would most likely be just geographically Sunny Hills area, I would assume.
Sunny Hills has a pretty good population of people. I'm not sure what it is. But I would hate to say for sure Sunny Hills would be the place, because I'm not sure that that's the right place for it. I think the right place for the next ambulance, when we do get one, is going to be a location that's going to better serve the most people.
Right.
So we need to have, when we look at this, we need to look at call volume. We need to look at reducing response times to multiple locations. So, just off the cuff, kind of looking at some figures here lately, I would say that Wausau area would be a legitimate location. You got quick response to Orange Hill, Buckhorn Creek, Quahala area. Quick response to that 77 corridor, including Sunny Hills, Crystal Lake. Quick response to the Vernon area when that truck's out of town. And quick response back to Chipley. So just shooting off the cuff with just minimal figures and looking at it, Wausau would probably be the ideal location.
And that does, and I think that does make sense too.
But now I would, before we made a definite
Right.
decision, I would have some numbers. I'd put full reports, I'd have to look and make sure that this, because I wouldn't want to put it here and then it actually be needed somewhere a little bit different location. But Sunny Hills has a lot of, we have a lot of older population in Sunny Hills. Have a lot of sick people in Sunny Hills. And, you know, every trip we go to Sunny Hills, I say every trip, I want to say the majority of the trips when we go to Sunny Hills and pick up patients, just like when we go to Ebro or to the backside of River Road, Shell Landing Road, we carry those people to Panama City, so you're looking at time out of pocket. So I need to reduce that time by putting a truck somewhere
Right.
that's going to serve the residents of Sunny Hills, Vernon, Chipley. I need to serve everybody. I think so.
Yes, sir. We wouldn't ask for anything but that because everyone's life is certainly important. And Wausau would definitely be a step, you know, in that direction from a Vernon call. And it would offer opportunities to serve other parts. So, Kathy, thanks for asking that about the cost and the money because it's obviously something that even if we could, we don't, you know, our organization, our MSBU, we don't have that much. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was,
Yeah.
you know, 60,000 or what, you know, we could
And-
supplement that
I
or.
knew it would be high.
Yeah. I mean, and you guys, we're probably one of the lowest paid ambulance services around. I mean, you go to Holmes County, make a little more money. You go to Jackson County, make more money. You know, directly. So these numbers right here are based off of fairly poor wages. My people working really hard to collect money off of insurances and stuff so we can keep providing these services.
Well, as we, in closing, I guess, unless there's some other things, I assume then, like you said it's my job as the MS director to seek out these things. I would assume that you are working closely with the county commissioners to try to secure more resources, ambulances, staff, as money's available. Are there grants that can be applied for?
The grant systems have just diminished. I mean, it's horrible. Our state funds through the Department of EMS is gone from just an astronomical amount of money to just nothing. To the point that they are going to quit doing grants for ambulances, which is going to hurt a lot of rural counties because they live and die by grants.
Right.
They live and die by them. There's going to be a lot of places that are not going to be able to afford new trucks. So the grant system is very poor. As far as me actively working with the board, I have had conversation with some board members. Most all the board members are aware that we need more first responders, more law enforcement. We need more ambulances. And like I said earlier, I feel that this board of county commissioners, if at any point during their time sitting in the seat up there, that they have the money to fund it. They know the need. I've expressed the need to them. We're looking for any kind of way, whether it be a 12-hour truck, whether it be a 24-hour, whatever we can do to improve services. And I think when they find the money, that they're going to let me have it and we'll put the extra services on.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
See, what led us down this road to begin with, Mr. Troy, is we have the county facility there in Sunny Hills. Then we talked about possibility of turning a section of that into a substation for EMS and the police force at the same, working on a thing. Now I'm just listening to what you're saying about getting from one spot, from our Chipley going downtown.
Yes, sir.
I was saying, even if we can't get the ambulance, if we could actually still activate the substation within that community building, then your crew wouldn't have to come all the way back on a given run. Just to say they're coming back, the crew from Chipley's coming back from Panama City. The crew from Vernon's on the way to the beach or Panama City.
Right.
So now you got both your ambulances en route. So at least if you get halfway, Wausau, and they had another place to actually stage for an hour, 2 hours, or whatever,
Right.
that way they could cover Vernon, they could cover North, they can still be right there. As just an idea of strategic moving of assets.
There is a system that is called System Status Dispatch that actually does that, and it's for bigger counties with 5 or more ambulances. And what they do is they rotate different locations throughout that county, depending on time of day. They put an ambulance over here in the parking lot of this junior store because it's 12 o'clock, there's a high likelihood of an EMS call right here in this area. With a 2 ambulance service, it's a good idea, but I think that it would increase response times to a lot of places.
Okay.
I just don't know that we've gathered data to back that up. I mean, it is a system that is in place, like I said. Escambia County uses it. Walton County uses a modified version of it. Okaloosa County uses it. But, and it is something that we will have to go, when our county grows and our service grows, to a higher population and more ambulances, we're going to have to utilize that type of placement tool, the system status.
So based on the number of figures, the dollar figures you gave, even if we could, and again, use MSBU funds to help supplement, such as that, even $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a year wouldn't even allow you guys to really get started, so to speak, would it?
No,
It needs to be from a county-wide resource.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Well, we've explored for the community, we have explored
Right.
our avenues. It seems like it's a dead end.
that's how I feel about it too. I think on behalf of the committee members up here, Mr. Truitt, and then those that can't be here and those that have spoken, just the fact that we know there are some in the community, and as the community grows, it's more appealing, especially to those of us that are getting on up in age a little bit, to have medical services available. And so it's hard to grow a community, which is ultimately what we're trying to do, in a positive direction without those kind of resources. People will say, that's just too far away from any medical or hospital, no good to Panama City or Chipley. As much as nothing wrong with being in Chipley, Washington County, ultimately we want to serve the county in a roundabout way, but we don't want them, going somewhere else when they can squat in Washington County, So, with that said, in closing from me anyway, is please be very mindful that it's something that our community needs and desires very badly. And if you would, from your position, please try to seek that out for us with the county commissioners and any, whether it be grants or whatever. I appreciate you sharing that information too, that we would like enhanced medical services, and particularly in the form of ambulance services in the Sunny Hills area as soon as possible.
If y'all have any concerns, just call me. Come invite me to your meeting. I mean, I'll come and talk about stuff and answer all my questions I can.
Okay.
And always know that I will always be looking to improve response times in all of Washington County.
Certainly. That's all we can ask.
Thank you.
Mr. Truitt, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that said, we have another speaker. We'll move on to our next agenda item, library services, and Ms. Renee, is that right?
Yes.
Renee Roundtree, please come forward. She's the library director, and we appreciate your time, Ms. Roundtree. If you would, to start things out, if you'll give us just a, kind of a report on the status of the Sunny Hills Library, please.
Well, obviously, the commission directed me to continue operations for the rest of this year, and that we would revisit it.
Thank you.
Yeah, way too tall. I put in a $25,000 contingency line item when I submitted my budget in April for a 27-hour-a-week library branch manager. That's entirely up to the county commission if they choose to do it. Like Randy says, funds are tight, and when I know at the end of the day, emergency services, kind of rank higher than library services. That's just the way it goes. And there's only so many ad valorem tax dollars to float around. But for us, we haven't really seen an increase in summer participation. We offered a program, 1,500 summer read flyers went out, K through 5, at both the Vernon Elementary School and at Kate Smith. We also passed out additional couple of hundred at our Art Kid Do so that we would reach children that had not yet made it into the school system. And unfortunately, out of 1,079 children that we served in summer read programs, this year only 4 were at Sunny Hills Library. So,
Right.
at the end of the day, I can't offer better internet down there. I have to use a Wi-Fi hotspot in order to do Windows 10 updates. If the county wants to continue to provide library service down there, that's fine. If you want to fund additional service, that's fine. But I can't, in good conscience, recommend that we continue to keep it operational. It's really it's a loss.
That's the information that we need. Fellow committee members, any comments or questions from Ms. Roundtree?
Well, basically, my whole thing was, I guess I didn't know, you're not hooked up to the direct Wi-Fi. You're going to use a hotspot, like Verizon hotspot?
We are connected to internet, and the only internet that we actually get is through the state of Florida Department of Management Services. That gets us 3 megs download speed, but normally we run about 1.7 with our network. But the thing is, with Windows 10, if you have Windows 10, you know that it's constantly requiring updates, right?
Exactly.
So
unless
what
you meet 'em.
that means is, when you have 6 computers in a building, you can't attempt to do with 1.7 download speed updates. So we essentially disconnect a computer from our network and use a Verizon hotspot to actually download one at a time updates. So.
I understand how it goes to that satellite, and I have to do mine in the nighttime. Get up and actually have to meter it.
Ms. Roundtree, up to this point, and has the library in Sunny Hills been funded strictly from the Washington County Commission,
Yes.
not from MSBU funds at all?
No,
Right?
we've never received MSBU funds. The only thing that we've ever used is county funds, and then, of course, state aid to public libraries, which is part of our grant that comes from the Division of Library and Information Services.
Do we have any study on how many children are actually in Sunny Hills? I don't know.
2 years ago, we did an Every Door Direct U.S. Postal mail service for, maybe 3 years ago we did it. We did it within like a 5 to 10 mile radius of specifically 4483 Challenger Boulevard. And it gave me statistics on census numbers that there were roughly over 60% of households had a child under the age of 18. But it doesn't give me the breakdown. There's no way to know. I could go back and do some more research on it because I haven't examined it in several years, but of course they only do census every 10.
Well, see, that was my idea was, I know you're open like on Wednesday, it's like it works, I don't even know, so. And my idea was, if we had some hours in the evenings, like the kids get out of school, if they had a place they could actually go, if they needed a computer, they could get it, or whatever. That's the way I was going down when I was asking the questions. And that's why I'm curious, how much possibly could it get used if it was open at those hours?
what hours particularly?
Say 4 to 8.
4, 3 to 7?
Here's the situation, right? We're also in competition with the school district. You may or may not be aware that they received a 21st Century Community Learner Grant Program, which means they now house children in 3 through 5 at both Kate Smith and Vernon Elementary from 3 to 6 p.m., 5 days a week. So we've seen huge drops in our numbers. This is their second year going into it. We saw huge drops in our numbers in Wausau and both Vernon, and some drops in Shipley on kid attendance, specifically because of that grant program. And that's a great grant program. They do homework help, they have like an exercise thing, and then they learn like a STEM education project. And then they bus those kids home. It's wonderful, but this is the beginning of year 2 of a 5-year federal grant that the school district will administer. So, I'm already compensating and thinking about our programming and how we can best use resources because of that.
Okay.
So there's nothing in the southeastern part of the county then for kids? Would that grant, could they apply some of that grant to you and for the Sunny Hills Library specifically? No,
It's completely through the school district, and there are a lot of rules and regulations because it's federal money that's administered through the state.
I guess the last question I've got for you then is numbers. What kind of attendance, I guess, at the library there have we had over the last year, maybe month, per day when it's open?
So right now I can give you a 10-month average, which is an average of 64 people a month. We've seen 646 people in the last 10 months. If you would like to look at any of my statistics and my numbers, actually I have them. And if you want me to, I can provide you all with a copy. It is the statistics starting on October, and the last statistic is through July, obviously, because we haven't finished all this yet.
So 64 people.
Average per month.
Average per month, only open on Wednesdays. So that's 4 times a month, you might say, divide that by 64.
I get about 15 people a visit.
15 people per Wednesday. I guess that's even more than I thought.
That's actually higher than I was thinking.
Yeah, so it's obviously being utilized.
But see, here's the crazier part, right? But then I have to tell you that, you know what? Last month, Vernon saw 1,003 people.
Is that a Washington County Library as well?
In Vernon, yes.
Yeah.
And then Shipley saw 4,022.
Vernon's open how many days? What days?
They're open 34 hours.
Okay, so nearly a week, roughly. Okay, what about Wausau Library?
Wausau, she regularly breaks 300, and she's only open 27 hours.
300
27 or 28 hours.
300 a month? 300 people a month?
Yeah, and 512 square feet. Susan is the blessing, for lack of a better term, to take that on.
If I remember right, at one of the county commissioner meetings, you said that the operational cost for Sunny Hills was $8,000.
Yes.
Is this because that you put a higher paid person
No,
there?
as a matter of fact, it's not. Actually, what I normally do is if I'm going to put somebody down there, it's rotating coverage. I put a library page who makes a minimum, which is the starting salary is $8.49, or I will work that location. And I didn't include that in my figures because realistically, as director, there's a ton of stuff that I can do by carrying a notebook full of paper and having access to internet. Or I send a children's librarian down there who has the ability to plan for programming. So that minimizes the cost. So if they're not very busy, then, it's not a wasted staff person down there.
Am I wrong about the $8,000 though that I heard you?
The $8,000 also includes like some basic things like our internet and our telecom and things like that.
That's per
So,
month?
For the whole year.
Oh, for $8,000 for the year? Is what it takes to run it? Or that one just open on Wednesdays, I understand.
Yep.
Okay. It sounds like that you've provided some great information for us, and you said you're open until the rest of this year is in 2017 or till next fiscal year?
We always go this fiscal year, which is October 1 to September 30th.
So like a month and a half, and you close it at this point, is that right?
No, sir.
Depends on the,
No, sir, that's all dependent on the county commission. So,
Okay. Any commissioners, any comments that you guys may have for us on the library status? So we're good through the rest of this for another month and a half for sure, it's there.
yes, and when we previously had the discussion, they indicated to me that we would revisit it closer towards the beginning of fiscal year.
Okay.
They wanted to see if we could boost numbers
Okay.
at Sunny Hills
Okay.
during the summer.
And like I said, I'm not advocating for or against it, it's just something that's on our agenda to talk about whether or not we need to keep it or not. And whatever the numbers show, ultimately, eventually is what needs to happen, we know that. So we're just asking for numbers, that's all. Guys, any comments?
When we discussed it at our county commission meeting, all county commissioners without hesitation was in full support of keeping it.
Most recently, that was a recent discussion? Okay.
But we are realists, and we understand.
Yes, sir.
Others have to justify the money spent on it. And Renee is a very good steward of our tax revenue, and we appreciate her services. And I believe her recommendation will be highly leaned upon, along with the offices of MSBU, is what y'all see people see the need.
Certainly.
Well, and at the end of the day, my budget is still for Wednesday. The budget that I submitted is Wednesday, and also if the county chooses to give me additional funding, then that would be a contingency that would be 27 hours for a branch manager down there. But, that's a lot depends on what the millage rate ends up being set at, and how much ad valorem taxes come in, and all that. So that's the budget workshop tomorrow, kind of.
Okay, it'll be discussed during that time. Gary, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I have a comment. I'm a big supporter of the library. I gave a lot of books to the opening of the library, but I'm also a taxpayer, and I understand budget crunches, and I think she does a wonderful job of presenting the facts, and I gotta say that if she says the library needs to be closed, as a taxpayer, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it if I didn't
No,
think
you
it was
wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. And a lot of for instance, I use the library a lot, but I generally use the one in Chipley. And most of the Sunny Hills residents get to Chipley on a regular basis, and they can go to Wausau, they can use that library, and if we could offer better services someplace else, I would like to not see the library closed, but I certainly understand the necessity of doing that as a taxpayer.
my concern is that we're wanting to make Sunny Hills a better place, and when one of the few things that we do have closes, it doesn't look good for the community.
But
It's kind of
apparently
a
the
broken
people,
window theory.
apparently the people in Sunny Hills are not particularly interested in doing it. Someone said they don't know exactly how many people. There are about 1,200, 1,300 people down there, and they don't use the library. They all know it's open, they don't use it.
And that's why I was suggesting 4 hours a day, every day of the week, is the additional 20 hours on a whole day, one day. That's the other 7, that's 27 hours. And we can fund the 20. If the 7's already funded, right?
The 9.
Or 9, he's for 9.
I don't know that we can fund that. I think we need to find out from the attorney whether we can do that before we decide
I
to make
understand
any of
that,
that
I understand
decision.
that, but I'm saying, these are the thought processes, now if we decide to do that, we're gonna go down that road, double check that, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a priority, I'm not saying it's indefinite, I'm just make sure that everybody understands that, so I don't see things, they're doing something as a priority. And
I can tell you that I've talked to Jeff Goodman about this before, and the way he explained MSBU to me was that you could provide a higher level of an existing service.
correct.
Obviously, there's no precedent and there's no statute. The statute specifically does not say libraries. It does say recreational facilities, which most libraries are funded under Parks and Recreational Department, including Washington counties. But there's no case precedent for it. I double checked with him.
So it sounds to me like then that we could potentially supplement that with MSBU
If you
funds.
choose to do so, and the county commission agrees.
Right, okay, just thoughts to consider, so even say it's $10,000 a year to double the services, just ballpark stuff, and I like thoughts that Steve had there on spreading it out over several days and the peak hours that kids could potentially come home from school and need somewhere to go. Like, yeah, that sounds good in theory, I certainly,
Well,
yeah,
that's a 1-year try, just to see how it goes.
right, a 1 year, that's right, a 1 year try.
We've tried 3 different days down there with not much success.
I don't know that everybody knows about it. It may feel to you like it does, but I'll be honest with you, about a year ago, I stumbled up on it and found internet services, and I've lived there for 10 years. I did not know that it was available like that, and that's what I needed at the time, was to utilize the internet for something. And, you know, we're gonna talk about lighted signs at some point later too, but that's the kind of information that we could get out to people, and also if the Civic Association would partner with us to put it in their paperwork.
They did actually.
Okay.
We sent a specific flyer highlighting our summer read program, and they printed it in the June and in the July Civic Association newsletter.
I'm embarrassed to say I overlooked that too. I have a son that probably would have benefited and enjoyed that. I think he's coming out of the fifth, going into the sixth. He might have been too old, but still, I didn't know about that either, and that's my bad. I didn't read the paper.
See, that still doesn't get to everybody,
That's true.
it only gets to people. who
That's
are
true,
members
which
of
is
the
why we don't
association.
just use that. We use Kathy.
Right.
We use our website, we use our Facebook page, and we use Constant Contact, which allows us to import all of the emails that are in our library system so that we can send out monthly newsletters to all of these people.
And you use the school systems too, don't you?
We do, yes,
Extensively.
yes. Well, of course, Mr. Taylor agreed to allow us to distribute 1,500 flyers to his students.
The kids pretty much know the library's there.
In Sun Hills, thinks that, okay. Well, with that said, I don't know that there's any committee members, do you guys see anything that needs to be voted upon here? We've had the discussion, anything we would encourage Ms. Roundtree to do for us on our behalf as she goes back to the county commission meetings?
I mean, if you have ideas for like how we can increase people coming in through the door, I'm for that. I've tried everything under the sun.
Right.
And when staff and I stopped realizing that we could do it, I pulled in our Friends of the Library group. I've at this point, yeah, I don't know what else to do, which is when I brought it before the county commission.
I envision ultimately, eventually a hub, a community center, a clubhouse, if you will, that has access to a library, maybe a restaurant, a pool, you know, some sporting facilities, all in one place. So it's a hub of activity for families and kids, and the library being right there just caught up in the mix of it, it's available for people. So until we can get something that's just that draws everything, like Pier Park, I hate to use that for an example, but there's so many things going on there, you know, it draws people into one big conglomerate. So if we could tie the library into other services some way, you know, just thinking out loud as a community member,
Yeah.
I think that would appeal and draw people in and have them know what's there. So
Well, and part of my problem is like I can't offer a draw. Like a good draw is high-speed internet,
Right.
but I can't get any better internet than somebody that lives in Sun
yeah,
Hills.
Bell Sounds or AT&T,
It is AT&T
Yeah,
through
Uverse.
Florida EMS, and actually we don't even qualify for Uverse. And when I talk to AT&T, they're like, "Where are you located?"
Yeah.
It was really discouraging, for lack of a better term.
So I'm with you, I know about that. So anything else from Ms. Roundtree, guys? We'll let's get on. Just advocate for us, bring up the numbers, talk to county commissioners as you report to them, and keep in mind then that we would potentially consider, allowing some MSBU funds to be used in that direction. If we, as a committee, agree that would be something that we could do and help spread the word. Give it one more year, give it a different try, a different schedule. If it doesn't work, we say we tried it. So again, not advocating either way, but just trusting and counting on you to provide us the information we need. Okay.
Okay, well then.
Thank you,
Would
Chris.
like a
Thank you.
copy
Great
of
job.
the Sunny Mills?
I would like a copy.
You have a couple?
I don't, but I can get Jackie to make a couple and I'll give them to you.
Well, I glance over Kathy's. It doesn't matter. If you got access, just share it with us and we'll pass it around.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Round. The next agenda item we have is that of AED placement, and Mr. Steve Helis, is am I saying that right? Helis?
Helis, yep.
Is Steve with us today? Oh, I didn't know your last name, Steve, I'm sorry. I didn't know your last name, buddy.
Here's my name.
Maybe we ought to take a little while to introduce ourselves.
Hey, I'm Steve Hughes.
Am I saying your last name right?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, that's proof we don't talk outside this place. Remember all that confidential sunshine law stuff?
Okay.
Mr. Hills,
100%.
use your mic, please.
Y'all are not Facebook friends.
No.
Thank you.
Well, basically, I asked this be put back on the agenda just for a little discussion this evening. And, well, it falls right in line with our EMS presentation, which painted a pretty gloomy picture for us as far as giving ambulatory services. Anyway, but the AED, when we talked about it, and of course, individuals voiced their opinion that it's like, you can't do that because you have to have training and all that stuff, you can get sued. Well, of course, I just did some research, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not saying this 100%, but when I print stuff out that says Florida AED laws and statutes, and it actually lists the statute, and the first one is the Cardiac Arrest Survival Act, and basically it holds you, immune from civil liability if you are acting in good conscience, trying to help assist somebody that requires help, and they can't tell you, I'm good, leave me alone, because they require the help. And it's just a whole bunch of laws in it. And I just wanted to bring that up because this was an issue that some family members in the community thought would have helped. And we need to really keep this. I'm not going to have to vote on anything tonight, but I just want to bring the information, because there's a lot of information in here. Because when you put them out in the community, you have to let EMS people know where you located them at so that they know. You have to let the police department know where they're at, and they also have to be checked and monitored so that they stay in serviceable condition. There's all different kinds of contingencies. So I just wanted to bring the fact to the people that you can have them and be immune from civil liability if you're acting in good conscience. Yes, it also has a paragraph in the statute here that does encourage, it said the word is encourage, training on the use of the AED, but it also says along with that, CPR, first aid, and everything else. So I just wanted to, like I said, bring it back around and say, let's keep it in the forefront, we can keep this as a thought process as we go down in the future and get more input when there's more people even, and say that yes, we can do this if we want to do this. And it would help the community.
So one of the questions that comes up is, I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that we should look into, but where would we put it at this point? Library?
Well, that is to be determined. And we may have, I don't know, we have a patrol that goes through there for the county. Do we have a patrol car that goes through there? Does he have one in the patrol car? I don't know.
Provide it and let that
Provide it
area.
to the patrolman that patrols that area.
Okay.
Provide it to, like you said, where do people go?
Country clubs.
Well, you
Right.
got
The golf
country-
course area over
Yeah,
there?
you got, I know you got people from out, as a community, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for people that come into the community also.
Do we think and assume maybe that the golf course has one, has their own maybe?
You have, right in the county building, you also have the Council of Aging that goes in there, don't they?
There's a bingo group that meets
Okay,
on
big, so
Wednesdays.
therefore, if there was one in there, it does, it may not be open all the time, but if they needed it at that particular time, for what they may cost, and then, we said, run through a quick training, we could do that within the community if we wanted to.
Have you priced those, Steve?
I purchased them for the government years back, and it's like, they're like $2,500 for the model, if I recall right. But I would have to get, things improved, so I have no idea what they cost right now.
Is this something that we want to vote on tonight to purchase? Go ahead and begin the purchase process, or ask the county to purchase something? Why not, Gary?
I would just want to do some more reading and let you all read, absorb what I produced here tonight for you all, and we can do it on the road and think about that and bring it to the community at another meeting or whatever, I don't care, and say, hey, this is the reason we're going this route, is because the ambulatory services is pretty much out the door. We cannot fund that.
Well, that's my point. Why not move forward then as a backup to the information we've been presented on the ambulance services and agree to purchase them and figure out where to put them. I assume the library would be one spot. Is that, Gary, you have a comment there?
The case law in the past has specifically excluded MSBU's from being able to fund EMS-type services because they're not available to all community members or all of the people that pay. If a man lives in Worcester, Mass., if he's having a heart attack, he can't use EMS services.
I disagree with that.
Well, before we get too far into it, I think we ought to ask for a legal opinion of whether we can do it or not, because I'm concerned that if we do things and we get sued for it, then we're not doing our job properly. And there are people out there that want to sue for everything. And I just think that before we get too far into a discussion, we
Maybe
should
I'd
ask
err
if
on
we
the side
can.
of caution before.
All we can do as a board is come up with suggestions.
Yes.
There are things that we would like to see, and then we would pass them on to the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners would then vote within themselves whether or not we can actually do the things we say we want to do, because that's where they're going to get the money from anyway. Even though it's our money in a way, they're going to control it. So therefore, before the board said yes, I'm sure that they would have legal backing behind the whole thing.
Jackie, I want to, Jeff's not here tonight, attorney, right? Okay,
Jeff
Jeff Massey is. So these items that we bring up that we're stumped on how to move forward with, is that something that you guys are making notes of for us to bring on our behalf to the county commission meeting? What do we do right now on this discussion of AEDs? What would you
Actually, that's
suggest?
the next thing on the agenda item.
Legal services?
Yeah.
Well, I personally, Gary, you make a good point. You know, people are worried about being sued and stuff, but I feel like that we're not making progress. This is the fourth meeting or fifth we've had, and the perception is that we're scared to vote on anything. And the county commissioners have told us several times we have $300,000. We're in a great position to be able to do some stuff, but we continue to not do it. And I'm concerned that we're not making any progress at all. And I don't see where we could go wrong by either voting to purchase them or voting to ask Mr. Massey to look at moving forward and purchasing one or two, or, you know, it's not even that much money really if the figures you have there, Steve, are still close. So I support moving forward with that. And you've got, Gary, you'll talk more about legal stuff, but you've got legal information now saying that it's almost like a Good Samaritan law, I guess, to sum it up, when somebody's trying to assist somebody, so you really can't get sued by trying to do something to help somebody with a piece of equipment that's been certified to use for that. Is that kind of a way to sum it up?
Pretty much.
So with that said,
Somebody make a motion now.
okay, I mean,
I think the placement of them will be the question.
yes, sir?
As far as the purchase of them, you're always going to run into that as far as, is it providing the same benefit for all contributors of the, you know, for all properties?
Well,
And short of aerial fertilization or aerial herbicide application, you're not going to treat all properties the same.
it's
There's just no way to
impossible.
provide the
It's
same.
absolutely impossible, isn't it, Commissioner?
Right.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, so at the worst, if we couldn't get a legal interpretation from our attorney, we can request a legal interpretation from the state
Yes, sir.
as to whether or not it's applicable to purchase this with the MSBU funds. Because if you just go by a local hearsay, you'll never come to a consensus.
Correct.
And that's kind of my, as a chairperson, I didn't ask to be here, but I'm honored to be here, but I feel like I want to try to steer this thing forward. We're not the one writing the check, it's going through you guys and the attorney sitting there, so I'm not afraid at all to present something, and you guys let us know if we can or
Yes,
can't.
and you can't, you know, we've researched it and we can't do it.
Okay.
Then we just go another way. At least we're doing something.
Yes, my vision is that when these ladies print or broadcast or whatever form, or anybody from this meeting, is that we're trying to make progress for the citizens of the Sunny Hills area. And I think that this would tie nicely into the earlier agenda item of the discussion of the emergency services. We're trying to do something to enhance our medical capabilities down there. So,
Okay, then I make a motion, we purchase 3 AEDs. Plus, I'd have to research the model, maybe, and also somebody else is gonna do that.
okay.
And
Why 3, Steve? Just curious.
Well, it was just a good note, figure to spread them out around the community.
Okay.
We gotta find a place. After we decide, we find out we have more places to put them, then we can buy a couple more.
Okay.
But at least 3 right now.
So potentially, just brainstorming before I second that motion, which I'm prepared to do, potentially the library building area there, whether it be the
Correct.
community center, potentially the country club golf course area,
Correct?
and then a third spot to be determined, maybe
Maybe Boat
deputy.
Lake.
Boat Lake?
Because you have people
Okay.
going over there to go swimming and stuff, that are community members.
First of
I
all,
know
you
you have-
find out if they have them.
I know that, but I'm just saying, I don't know that. I'm just,
Certainly.
this is arbitrary.
Yep, just somewhere to start. I,
That's the reason I say 3. We can spread them out in 3 different strategic areas.
well, I second that motion.
And if we find out we can't, then we'll just be a dead issue at the end.
Okay. I second.
Would these be something like, say, at 2 AM, somebody needs one? What would,
Well,
how would that happen?
that's where it goes back to having
Legality.
the patrol, anyone who patrols the Sunny Hills area, having one in their vehicle. And if that's what I'm saying, once we know all the facts, I don't know if does the patrol cars have any?
Not every patrol that can have one, but the majority of us.
Okay.
One of mine, there's always one person per shift that does these things.
Okay.
Good to know.
Well, I assume this building may have one inside. You guys know? Possibly? But that doesn't do any good for the person standing outside here when the door's locked. So, I mean, we can't serve everybody all the time. So I still think it's something to move forward with.
Exactly, because you're not gonna be able to just, if you're gonna do that, then we get a quick grass cutting too, because you're not serving every road either.
Right.
I'm not even going there.
So,
That's an odd one, because hopefully you're never going to serve any.
let's try it with the AED. Good point. Don't need it.
There you go. Hopefully they all stay brand new.
But the time that you did and we had it, that would be certainly a good thing. So the motion has been made by Steve Hemus to purchase 3 AEDs, and I have seconded that motion. So all in favor, please say aye.
All right.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Mr. Massey, if you would, sir, we would like to move forward and do that. So 3.
Needs to be presented.
It does. We certainly, we want that to be known that, again, our heart is to serve the community from an emergency standpoint. And that's just the best way that we feel that we can tonight based on the agenda items up to this point. So move on to our 4th agenda item and legal services and Gary Hartman.
Actually, Kathy brought this up at the first meeting, and I'm bringing it up to support the fact that we didn't go any place with it. I think that we should put a contingency fund or start a fund and have the county commissioners see if they can extend their contract with the county attorney or whatever, but I think we need legal services, and I think we need to pay for them properly and get a quote as to how much it would cost per hour and have them attend the meetings, and that way we can get some of this. I don't want us getting in trouble.
Yeah, I don't either. Trey, is there any light that you can shed on this?
Well, you're aware of our yes.
I can't hear you.
We're kind of in limbo right
You're
now.
in limbo.
because-
Jeff has been appointed as a circuit court.
Right,
so-
yeah.
So at that time, he did not feel comfortable serving both entities together. Just for the simple reason that they're never, he just didn't feel comfortable. But with that being said, we have a person to handle the 5th or 7th of September. And we definitely can go forth and talk to him and see how, or her, and see how they feel. And, there's plenty of legal, plenty of lawyers in the area that y'all more welcome to talk with, and we can put RFP out for y'all if y'all can decide to do that on an hourly basis. Y'all, we'll work with y'all any way we can. It's just entirely up to y'all.
Okay, my question though is, after we present to the commission anything that we want to go forward with, don't you already check with legal before you make your vote on it?
That's what.
All right then, so then we're paying for a service that they're gonna get anyway.
Yeah, but we spend 4 or 5 hours talking about things, and then somebody might tell us right up front, you can't do that, there's no sense in discussing it.
Well, then we just gotta get better at making decisions quicker rather than dancing
Or
around.
make it, present it, and let them block it. I think I agree, with all due respect, Gary, with Steve on that, that ultimately it'll be buffered when it gets to the county level, and that I think legal services would be something that would take a large chunk, potentially, of our budget. I don't even know, can we pay for that? I don't know, again, that's a legal question. Yeah, can we pay for legal services too? I think that it's another layer that ultimately we shouldn't pay for. Thoughts? Kathy? Because we are an arm of the county commission with the attorney.
I mean, I see both sides of it.
I really do
but-
too.
But since we are only making recommendations to the county commissioners, I'm leaning towards, throw it to them and then let them
Okay.
figure,
All right, best question.
do the legal part of it.
County all looking on it.
I've heard black and white stripes. He said, how do y'all look in orange on those jail jumpsuit things?
It's just new black,
Yeah, that's right.
But we will, no matter what y'all give to us, I'm speaking just for one commissioner, I know that the rest of the commission feel the same way. We are going to present it to our attorney before we speak one thing.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank
That's
you.
probably the highest scrutiny there is.
Right. Again, out of possible ignorance, I say, if it comes down to it, and if that person has to feel they have to work beyond what would be their normal scope of work, set aside by you guys, don't think so, it'll be part of the job, right, sir? Okay, that's what I want to say. I was going to mention the possibility of a supplement, a small supplement, but it's part of the county, it's part of what you get, what we do ultimately from the county. Okay, good. So with that said, do we need to take any kind of action or vote on that at all? Legal services, a good discussion. I think we're okay with the layer that we have.
I was told that if we did have any questions outside the meeting that we wanted to run, this was when Jeff was still with us,
Okay.
that he would be happy to answer any questions that we had outside the meetings that we, to run by.
And he's still with us.
But I assure you, the new attorney, whoever gets the position, will be cooperative to our interview. That will be understanding during our hiring process.
Good. Thanks, Commissioner. Okay.